So, Ludo, frame a challenge that you would like to work on here.
Okay, I will frame two, and you can take your pick. There's one.
How can I learn from an online course that provides no documentation and simply records phone sessions when I am not an audio learner? The thing that we want to keep in mind here is that you need to have something to work on that you can actually model with objects. So the first one is slightly abstract. I think that you could still do it, but let me see what your second one is.
You've seen this one before.
Am I addicted to SL? SL is my only social and creative outlet, and I am neglecting my health for it. How can I talk myself out of spending so much time? Maybe we ought to go with that one.
Usually Marley makes suggestions as to what aspects of it would be good to model. So I think I'll wait and see if she makes any suggestions to get me started.
All right. So would you please make a build of your addictive, what you call the addictive part of you? Let's see what that looks like. I don't know if those of you who are new here were taught how to create or pull a geometric form out of a create program, but basically it involves pointing to the ground and seeing the word create and then pulling a shape out from a bunch of geometric forms. That is the beginning of feeling closest to whatever you're going to symbolize. Now, Ludo is an experienced builder, but when I do this once a month in a coaching session in Second Life. I urge people to work at whatever level they're at. They can do very simple kinds of builds and just put colors on them and so on. So Ludo is now making a symbolic model of her, what she calls her addictive self. And while she's doing that, I'm going to ask her, I'm asking you, Ludo, to pay attention to the feelings in your body as you're doing this. So one thing that I do is I link up what's happening on the screen with what's happening physically to the person at home. And to watch for a click that says, ah, yes, that's it. In other words, your body is a barometer that helps you evaluate the visual experience. Now, if those of you who consider yourself addictive or that you work with addictive clients, my question, rhetorical question to you, we'll talk about it later, is if you were going to make a symbol of that addictive part, what would your symbol look like? And you might do it in a drawing. Here, it's possible to do it in a three-dimensional looking thing. And I'm looking into getting a pen that can draw directly on prims. I understand that that's now possible. I haven't found it yet. So I want you to look at this object with your cameras from all views. You just use the arrows to move around visually. Ludo, what is the feeling in your body as you look at your object?
A sort of a triumphant pride.
What does that voice say?
What does the object say?
Yes, that's the triumphant voice.
Triumphant pride says, Ludo, you're helping a lot of people by what you do in SL. You're great. Keep it up.
Okay, and does that feel like it's this object speaking?
Yes.
Okay, so now
this is a complicated object with a whole lot of color in it.
Yes, I am a complicated.
I am being. And I am complicated, and I'm doing a whole lot of different things in SL, and I can multi-process well, and I'm proud of myself.
All right, so now I suspect that there is a character that's a judge of this. Because when you're this, it sounds very positive. But when you put out the problem, you sounded like you had some judgment about being that way. So I want to see the judge.
Tell you what, I need an object, and then I need to say that it is sculpted, and I will tell you that I am not putting the judge here, I'm putting the victim here.
All right. Check with your body to see whether what you have put out corresponds with what you're feeling. If it's the right color, the right size, the right distance in relationship to the triumphant addict object. To report out any sensations that you're having while you're doing this.
I'm tense, I'm leaning forward, my throat's getting tight.
Okay. All right.
Black first, but now it's red. They're both equally appropriate. And this, the victim says, ouch! I hurt. You're spending so much time in SL that I can't sleep. And I've skipped meals. And my body hurts. Gotta do something about this.
About me. All right. I want you to notice.
About you multiplexing, multi-processing Ludo over there. We've got to do something about you.
In order to help me. In other words.
In order to help me, the victim. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, I want you to go look closely at your addict object and see what the two of you have in common visually.
Well, for one thing, we both have some red.
Right. That's right. So there's some
same size.
Mm-hmm.
Both
Okay.
shapes are complicated. One's nice and smooth and curved, the other one's all jagged, but both shapes are complicated.
All right. Complicated. They both share some red. They're both about the same size. So there's some basis now for, I'm going to ask you to do a little dialogue between the two objects that involves getting to yes. You know what I mean by getting to yes? A negotiation.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. So, folks, everyone who's watching this, we're, of course, shortcutting this. If I had more time, we would take more time in the process. But I just want you to get an idea of how this works. All right, so go ahead, Ludo, and let's see what they can say to each other that might lead them to a negotiated process to yes.
Ludo Herding, I want to tell you that you're not going to be all that much better off if I were to quit SL entirely, because then what kind of a purpose would we have? What kind of a social outlet would we have? I would hurt like crazy if I didn't have people to talk to, if I couldn't help anybody. I mean, what would happen to you? Do you really think that you take care of your health any better? Or do you think that you just go to bed and not get up? It's like dieting. I can't stop eating. It's very difficult to diet because I can't go whole turkey and completely stop eating.
Okay, so I want you to notice.
I can't stop SL.
I want you to notice, folks, the difference in how her voice sounds in each place.
Yep, I'm very good at immersing myself in a character.
Just notice the difference. That's right. But that is a clue. So when you're working this way in this kind of environment, you're depending both on what the person produces visually on the screen and how the person sounds. So that's just additional information. We're not going to analyze it now. I just want you to notice and observe. We'll talk later. Okay, go ahead, Ludo. Go a few more rounds so people can just get the sense of how this might move in some direction.
Ludo SL, what I need you to do is when you're so involved in helping somebody and I need a meal, tell them to wait and get offline and let me eat, please. Well, hey, sometimes the people that I'm talking to are really upset, and I'm a half-trained life counselor, and I really hate to leave them in a situation like that. And if I leave in the middle of a build, like you've asked me to so often, I have trouble remembering where I left off, and sometimes that leads the build. So, that's why it's so hard for me to stop in the middle. Yeah, true. And the way we feel, it makes it even harder for you to stop in the middle, because you don't have very much control on account of I'm hurting so much, and you can feel that. But we still need to do something about it now, don't we? Well, hey, you know that I have told everybody that I need to get offline at 5 p.m., and you know that all my friends know that, and if they see me online past 5 p.m., they tell me to get the heck offline. So that's one thing. But taking regular meal breaks, that's more difficult, and I really need to do that. I also need to exercise, and I agree with you that I really do need to do that.
Okay, now, one thing I'm picking up is that there is a ghost voice here. And the ghost voice is the people that you're working with who you imagine would be somehow destroyed if you left in the middle of something. So I'd like you to put something out to represent the people who you feel pull on you to stay and not go eat, not go take care of yourself.
I'm going to make this quick.
Oh, that looks exactly like your victim one.
Exactly. The people that I don't like to leave feel the same way I feel like when I'm feeling like a victim. That's where my empathy comes from.
Uh-huh. So, how do you work with that?
Changing the color a little bit so that I know they're not me. I don't tend to stay up late nights worrying about them. But they sure look a lot like me.
All right, I want you to speak in the second rather than the third person. You're not me, etc. You instead of they.
You're not me, and I'm talking from this gal now. You're not me, and I'm not going to stay up late at night worrying about you. But I really do hate to cut you off when you want to talk to me.
What does that part say? That part knows that you have a physical need that you're not taking care of in order to stay with them. What do you think that part says?
My clients know that. And what they generally say is, I really need to talk to you.
Okay, so now you have a pull on the part of your clients who want you to stay, and a pull by your body that wants you to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't pay attention to that, then your red victim suffers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And what's more, over here, I want to help this magenta person over here. I want to help. So there's a pull here, too.
Yes. Now, the way we would continue to work on this is that these three aspects of this issue, this challenge, need to communicate in depth with each other to find a solution to the conundrum, get clearer about what the problem actually is. Now, you may have a sense of this, Ludo. I've said to you before that when you perseverate, that is, when you state and restate a problem the same old way, you get the same old results.
This is a different way.
That's right. So today, we were going a little bit further, and I want to see if you can characterize the core issue that you're working on here. That's not a simple repetition of the problem as you usually put it out.
We brought the magenta spiky thing in.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing.
Those are your clients who don't want you to leave.
But they're not really my clients. That object isn't really my clients. That object is my perception of them.
That's right. That's what your projection is about how they feel about your staying put and not taking care of yourself. So, what do you think the next step would be in this process?
Okay, in this process, what would be the next step? The next step in my process is to go talk to my life coach again.
Okay, so seeking support is certainly a good idea. But in the process of working on this with the visual symbology, what do you think would be the next thing? Okay.
You magenta thing. You are a perception. And I wanted to go to my clients and actually check that perception out. I want to tell them what the problem is and check that out. Because it's a perception.
All right. So that's what you are projecting onto your clients, that's what they would want, but you're not quite sure because you've never really talked it over with them in depth.
Well, I have, but I can be a lot more direct about it than I have been, I think.
Great. I think this is a good place to stop.